So you want to add some life in your YouTube videos. I'm going to share 3 simple things that you can do on your next shoot that will help you add some depth and drama and help you tell the story you want to tell. My name's Jeremy, and let's get right into it. As small YouTubers, I think it's very beneficial for us to learn off each other as we grow. The bigger YouTubers, they have lots to share, but they're kind of out of touch with what we're going through at the moment. So I want to share with you guys things that come up on my personal learning curve as I'm learning them, and they're fresh. But first, one sec. First, I got some mail. We need to be more dramatic, like a Peter McKinnon. Just looking through the bag of camping stuff I took on my adventure where I brewed coffee for the first time. If you want to check that out, it'll be up here. What is this? Heated apparel by Kemimoto. So this company has sent me a product to look into. It's a heated vest, and I'm going to try it out later on in this video. Let's get back to it. The first thing you can do right now to not only improve the quality of the videos that you're producing, your overall workflow and your time management is planning. When it comes to filming and my personal life, I'm busy. My kids are busy. I have a full-time job. My wife works shift work, and maybe that's how it kind of pushed me to plan better. And the way that proper planning can help your videos improve is you're going to better utilize your battery life. You're going to better utilize the time of day if you're outside, which is kind of what I target in my videos, is other outdoor vloggers, hikers, walking tour guides, drone pilots, whatever. If you better utilize your time and think of the shots you want to get before you get out, you're going to get better shots. For instance, if I was going to go hiking somewhere like usual, like somewhere where there's a waterfall at the end, there's a path with maybe like a bridge and a river crossing, I'm going to think to myself, before I even get there, what type of shots do I want to get along the way? I know I'm going to want to get an establishing shot. I'm going to want to get some B-roll along the way to kind of show what the hike is like. That's going to include any bushwhacking shots, maybe a wide of the river crossing if I can get a tripod set up or a friend to hold the camera. I'm going to like to get maybe some B-roll of the bridge if it's interesting, if it's kind of high, or if it's like a suspension bridge, I'm going to want to get a couple different angles of that. I want to get maybe a shallow depth of field shot of it. I want to get the drone up, and I want to get maybe an establishing shot of the bridge if it's safe to fly the drone at that point. And when I get to the waterfall, I know I want to get some slow motion shots. I want to get a close up of maybe the water flowing down and kind of bouncing off the cliffs, some droplets forming. I know I want to get some underwater shots. For me personally, I like to see the fish. I want to get a drone shot if the falls is really high so my viewers can see what it looks like at the top. And so if without proper planning, if you just run and gun it, a lot of the times you will end up with some really nice stuff, but there's a lot of the times you might get so focused on the most beautiful aspects of what you're trying to get that you might get stuck at flying the drone for a long time because there's some nice hills or mountains or cliffs, or the sun is coming up and it looks nice. And next thing you know, you've spent 3 times the amount of time that you want to spend there, and you got limited amount of daytime this time of year, or you got other engagements you have to take care of, so now you're rushing. Same thing goes when you get further on, and like now you're rushing and you overlook that B-roll you wanted to get showing the hike, the nice B-roll you wanted to get filming the bridge. Maybe you get 1 shot or 2 shots, and then when you get to the waterfall, you get your slow motion shot, and then you quickly do your thing, or this is me, this is what I do anyways. And then you go home because now you're basically out of time and your batteries are half drained because you spent a bunch of time getting some really fun stuff. And then when you get home and edit, you got a great opening shot, and then everything else is kind of just the best of what you managed to capture in a hurry. Okay, so number 2, this is going to be taking advantage of what nature has to offer. And what I mean by that is it's easy to, when you're an outdoor filmmaker, vlogger, whatever, YouTuber, it's easy to realize that in a lot of the hemispheres anyway, maybe it's not going to be the same wherever you live, but where I live in the northern hemisphere, Summertime is the ideal time of year. Obviously, the days are sunnier, they're longer, people are happier, nature is greener and bluer, and there's just some obvious reasons that the summer is probably one of the more ideal times to film. Second place to that, you could argue that maybe the winter, the polar opposite of the summer. It's again in the northern hemisphere. You have some obvious beautiful blankets of snow. You have some snowstorms you can film in. You have icicles. There's lots of interesting things that happen in the winter. And then we have the fall with the changing color, with the leaves, again, depending on where your climate is. So you get the beautiful leaves, and you get the nice cooler weather and still kind of longer days too. So there's a lot of advantages that are obvious with the seasons. And even in the spring, when it's still kind of muddy and the days are starting to get longer, you can think of the budding trees and the leaves and the budding grass. And you can really concentrate on kind of showing that life emerging and catching those things. So if you're out just, on a hike, or you're out doing a tour around town or a city that you live in, if the city has flower beds or gardens, you can go there in the spring and you can film bees buzzing around, pollinating, flowers, budding flowers. It's just good to take advantage of what nature offers. And what my whole point at this is, especially this time of year, this is mid-November. It's that gap between the beautiful fall colors and the blankets of snow. And it's kind of dreary feeling that kind of the daylight savings time has kicked in. So we have less daylight, and it's kind of almost depressing thinking that the cold weather is coming for some of us. And it's hard to feel motivated. And one thing I want to point out, and this is where my new vest I'm trying out is going to come into play. One thing you can really take advantage of this time of year is the sun comes up later. And if you're going to take advantage of the golden hour in the morning, you don't have to wake up at the crack of dawn when you're still a zombie half awake to get these beautiful sunrises or to get the dramatic light that accompanies the sunrise. You can get out there at a pretty convenient time and do that. And along with that, and this is kind of paying attention to what nature's offering you. For instance, you might have a low-lying mist because the air temperature is getting a little bit cooler that you can take advantage. If you're flying a drone, you can get above it and you get like that kind of foggy, dramatic look. And what appears to almost be a setback with the thick fog might actually be something you can use to your advantage, kind of a silver lining. That goes along with the early mornings with the frost, the frosted over puddles and the frost on all the plants. You get a little bit of color left that hasn't fallen off the trees, and it's just a completely different and beautiful dynamic that happens in the morning with the sun kind of evaporating and melting the dew and the frost. It looks really good. So if you can plan for that or take advantage of it, those are just elements in nature that are going to be very useful if you take advantage of them. So again, a frame of mind for you to be in when you're out doing your filming. All right, so as you saw, when I was filming those frosty locations, I had this Kemimoto vest they sent me to review. And I'm just gonna admit it right away. This is one of the coolest things that I've gotten in a while. I like a lot of the products that I've reviewed. I can't say that there's anything that I don't find useful so far, but this is great. And I know the heat lasted for almost 5 hours on a single charge. Mind you, charging it out of the box took probably 12 hours before it was fully charged. I was even wondering at times if it was even charging. The second time I charged it was about 8 hours, and now it's like 5 or 6 hours like it says in the instruction manual. But I mean, most people aren't gonna be testing it and wearing it until the battery's completely gone and drained. But it lasted forever. It's thin, it's discreet. It has 3 different modes that you can access with the little LED lit up buttons on the front of it. The hood that comes out is it's heated and it tucks away if you don't want a hood. I took my kids down to the bay, as you saw in the footage, and it was freezing cold there. And I put the hood on, the heated vest, I wore it under my spring jacket, and it was ideal. It's the perfect way to dress in layers because you can put it under a spring jacket, or if it's supposed to be a somewhat nice day, you can have it just over a sweater, and if it happens to get cold, you just turn it on. I can't praise it enough, to be honest with you, and I'm not paid to do this review. I was just blown away by how cool this thing is, and I love it. So that said, I'm gonna have a link to the product in the description to their Amazon page. You can pick it up there if you want it. So moving on to the third and final point, it's gonna be on drama. Creating drama can be as simple as just leaving little bits, little teases there for the audience to fill in the blanks. A simple way to do this is actually just to slowly reveal, tease at your main subject, the whole point, whether that is a nice sunset or an old building. It could be many things. It could be, for me, a waterfall at the end of a hike. Whatever it is that is kind of like the focal point that you're trying to show, don't just show them. You want to kind of tease them a little bit with it. Let them try to fill in the blanks and create a picture in their mind of what they think it's going to look like. And eventually you want to show them the whole picture, but that buildup is kind of exciting, and I think it kind of helps tell a story. So there's different ways to slowly reveal your subject. You can do that by literally revealing the subject, like pick a foreground object like a big rock or a tree, and then slowly move your camera out from the occluding object and then slowly reveal whatever it is that you want them to see. Other ways, you can use shallow depth of field. And for those of you that aren't huge camera nerds, that refers to the one of the many numbers that you'll find on your camera or your lens. It starts with an F. The smaller that number, the more blurry your background can be. It's a lot more technical than that, but I'm not gonna do any technical teaching on this. It's not my forte to teach other people, and there's tons of information on YouTube for that. So basically, if your camera has the ability to blur the background based on where you want to focus, that's an easy way for you to kind of tease at your subject or slowly reveal it. You can do it a number of ways, but one way is to find something that's in front of your subject, and you can, whether it be, say for me, I would use like a tree branch with some leaves or pine needles or a fence. You can focus on the foreground, like say my hand here, if my camera will do that. There. So right now my hand's in focus, I move it away, and then I'm pulled into focus. So basically, if you take your camera, you focus on the tree leaves or the fence, you get it sharply in focus, and then you take your lens and you turn your focus ever so slightly until you very smoothly get your actual subject, which is in the background at the time, pulled into focus, slowly revealing itself, either part of it or most of it. And that gives you a very artistic way to reveal your subject. It's something that'll probably take some practice. It's not super hard, but it's not something you'll probably get right in the first time. But eventually it'll look pretty cool, and it's something that I think it's one of my favorite camera tricks, is racking the focus. So another way to add drama and depth, and this kind of all goes together with the whole depth of field, revealing the subject, is light. I cannot stress enough to you that light plays such an important role. And even if you're out in the forest, you're out somewhere where you're not going to use a big studio light, you're relying on lights that are provided in nature, whether that is the sun or some bright clouds or whatever it is. That's why the planning phase is so important, that you can pick a day weather-wise that the sun's going to be shining through, and a time of day that it's at the right angle, that it gives you long shadows in the forest, dramatic lights that are hitting, whether it be for me like a waterfall or a stream or river, or just after a storm when there's beads of water all over the leaves and you have the light hitting that. Once you get your main subject out of focus and your foreground in focus, you'll get what's called bokeh, for those of you who don't know, which is just the shiny light points that you see in a lot of films that are out of focus. And all that stuff really helps tell a story. It makes people guess at what is that in the background, kind of creating that light shimmer. And as you slowly pull in the focus, you see the beautiful light shimmering, which is highlighting your subject and just adding so much more drama and just making your shots look that much more appealing. I cannot stress again, light. I'm probably gonna end up with more than more than 3 things, but if you combine that with some nice camera movement, and a lot of people, you know, you get in a hurry, you're lazy, and you'll see a lot of this. Yeah, that's camera movement, but it's pretty boring. It's just kind of slowly panning around the same center axis, and it's not really that dynamic. You should actually try to walk, or at least if you're not going to walk, because maybe you're not that sure-footed, I don't know, you could start way over to one side and then slowly move your camera over to another side. That's a little better than just kind of pivoting in the same angle. But try to move if you can. A lot of modern cameras like DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, action cameras, and your own cell phone have digital stabilization built in, that if you can just slowly creep along carefully and take your time, you can get pretty stable looking footage that'll add a whole lot of dynamics, especially if you have some interesting light rays pouring through the trees. You can really get a nice feel, and just looks professional having a little bit of movement. So that's it. That's all I got for you. Let's just summarize it really quick to kind of drive it home. Proper planning is going to help you make sure you get all the shots that you want to get to make your edits more interesting. Then you have taken advantage of what nature has to offer. So, you know, you're not just getting out there doing your run-of-the-mill filming that you normally do and getting home. You're looking around, you're taking advantage of the light, you're taking advantage of whether it be the frost or some budding trees and leaves, watching when the light hits the water or whatever it is, you're taking advantage of that stuff. And then the third thing, you're looking to create drama and depth, whether it be through movement, the light, or the focus on your camera. That's it, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's facebook.com/New Scotland. I'll see you guys in the next video.